Hello and welcome. This is my demo for the SESC project, the student portal. Alright, so here I go. Um, okay, an overview of my application and the technology stack I use. Okay, so for the creation of the student portal, I used C Sharp. I use C Sharp to develop the backend for the this thing for the student portal, and also I'm using Postgres Postgres SQL for the DB. Okay, and how the web application works. I do not have a UML diagram to indicate to show to document the application. I do not have a UML diagram. Okay, so I have explained how my application works in an end user perspective. Okay, so here is a I'm going to be demonstrating both for the end user application and the happy part. I'm also going to be demonstrating for the happy and to be showing the happy part of integrating all three services together. Okay, so I've got it running already. The student portal, which I'm running already, created with C Sharp, and this is the CES books for the libraries, and this is for the finance. Okay, so I'm not able to use the front end because I don't have enough time to. I have a front end already, but integration it's going to take me a little bit of time, so I don't have time to integrate and run my front end. So you could use Postman or you could use Swagger. So I would prefer I can use both. Either one of them works. So for ability to register students, here it is. Here are your responses if the student is not. Here are the responses when you when you key in a value here, so you can get various responses, i.e., code 200, which is registered student, which registers a student that is a successful. This, and then you can get you can get 400, 401. You can get various responses. Now, so let me show you a good example of it. Then click on try it out. The username is Ada, email Ada at gmail.com. Here's a string, and the password takes the type of string. Normal Ada at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Quality. There's a code. It's running. And what's the response? The response we get is a 200. So success. So we have a success. So it has created. All right. So this is for creating a student. Then we want to use a student to log in. How to try it out? What's her name again? Student's name. The dummy student's name is Ada. And what is the password? Ada at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let me try and give you a wrong password. 6. What response do we get? Error, bad request. The message says invalid username or password. So we have to retry it again. 7. Sorry. 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Execute. What do we get? We get success true. And it's giving us a token. Also, because the JWT token is generated to access the password in the. So here is the response we get. We get a 200 response. So that means it's successful. The student has been logged in. And let me copy this JWT token because we're going to use it. We're still going to need it. I'll show you what it's used for. Let me close this bit. Now, so as a student, you want to access and get your student profile and get, you want to display your name and every single thing. So what do? We try it out. So here, for you to get a student profile, this is where you put This is where you will put your the token we got. So it starts with bearer because it's how Swagger docs work. So your bearer, then you have it authorize. So basically, let's see, execute to show you that yeah, you get a code 200, which is success. It's like to get the student profile, i.e., you get the student ID. You don't have the first name, you don't have the second name because we have not yet updated the student profile. So, so this is the student's ID. Let's copy that for now. And to update the student profile, what do? You have to just try it out. So, what's the name? Her name is ADA Ada. First daughter. Ada will be first daughter of the father. So you execute, you get what? A 200 code 200. Success is true. It has been what? It has been updated. Now let's go check. Let's go check the student profile. Still no and still no. Let's re-execute it. What's the name? It has updated to Ada Obi quality. Alright, so students, how far? You want to you want to enroll in a course. You want to enroll in a course. Okay, what courses are there? Let's go check out the courses that are available. And you try it out. Execute. What response are we getting? We're getting a response 200 because this is just going to give us the list of all courses. I don't think it's necessary. You need to put all these IDs. So initial JJ. So this is a response you get, and basically this is just a metadata of the book of all the books. So you have a total page of 100 and let's say a total count of let's say more than 1000 or 1000. So here is the book the items we have. We're using a lorem ipsum to populate it at the moment. So here are the various IDs. Here's the title of the book, and these are descriptions of the book. So that is the lorem ipsum that is populating the book. So let's say I want a book now. What's the most expensive book here? No. So here, this title is this what do you call it? This title of Merlin spell and Harry Potter spell. We want it. So we copy the ID, and this we copy the ID. We copy the ID, and we want to enroll for this course. We want to enroll for this course. What's the course ID? Let's try it out. This is the course ID. Control V. So this is the course ID. Oh wow! We have successfully collected and we have successfully enrolled for this course. So we go learn the latest spells. We have to go learn the latest spells, and I don't know the name of those books generated here. So now this one I highlighted over here right now. This is the invoice. This is the invoice generated. So from this invoice, we'll be able to pay and make payments to provide our eligibility to graduate. Okay, but now as you can see, I've been able to I've been able to borrow um I've been able to register for a course. Copy it again. So I've been able to register for a course. At the moment, I can't graduate because I don't have I haven't paid. I'm still owing an outstanding. And let me see if I'm able to graduate it right through. If I'm able to graduate it right through, else to give me a false to give me a false. So let me try it out. Am I able to graduate? No. You don't get this confused. So this could be confusing. Now let me explain. Success means that Iran is it ran and provided the result for us, true. And this data, what is the data is giving is false. False, i.e., you cannot graduate. I will show you when I pay for the course. So at the moment, I've enrolled for at the moment I've enrolled for a course. The moment I've enrolled for a course and I'm not able to graduate, so I have to pay up for the course. And let me go fetch the. Okay, so yes, to show you that I've enrolled for a course, it's going to give me the name of the course at the moment that I've enrolled for. So let me. So yeah, it's returning a 200. Wow, see the course, the magic spell I booked for. So this is the magic spell I booked for, the magic course I booked for to learn some quality magic. So this is it, and the fee is 999, 999, 9941. Now, to how do I even? Yeah, so sorry, I was looking for this link. So to access the invoice, so yeah, like I said, I have my outstanding. Let me just to refresh it. At the moment, you can see that my invoice reference. Look at this. It says invoice reference. My payment status is still pending. I haven't paid for it yet. So I haven't paid for it yet. So let me. So this is my invoice. Let me find my invoice. Wow. Okay. See my course. See my student ID, the one generated. See my course. See the amount I have to pay. My status says outstanding. Let me pay for my invoice. Quality, it has been paid. Now, let me come over here and check for my course. What does it say? Status pending. Oh boy. Oh, sorry. Well, let me see my graduation. Let me see my graduation status. At the moment, I'm still like I've paid for the course already. So if I execute it, now data has turned to true. Why? Because I have paid for my course. The invoice has been paid for, successfully paid. My payment was successful. And so my course has been paid for. Now I can successfully graduate. Now I can successfully graduate. Then, yeah, so that's how the basic system works. The same thing can also be done in Postman. I was trying various ones out before on Postman, or it's kind of lengthy and I have to be copying and pasting. So I just decided to use SwaggerDoc, which looks quite fun actually. But anyone could work out. You could use Postman or you could use SwaggerDoc. So here it is, the successful payment of my course, and I'm eligible to graduate at the moment. So eligibility is true. And if I go borrow another book, or if I go take another magic spell or another magic book, I'm able to still pay off, and I'm able to get my response and say, okay, yeah, fair enough, you're ready to graduate. I think there's a little bit of error there that I've not been able to work on, but we'll work on it. So that is the part for it. 30 minutes. All right. So for the microservices, like like we said, the basic foundation of this is a microservice architecture, which and one of the major reasons of a microservice architecture is its flexibility. It's very flexible, as one one end could spoil or one end could stop, but or doesn't affect the other parts of it. It's also very scalable and it's very easy to maintain. And it could be shared into different parts, so different people could build the different things. People could collaborate and work on different um, services all together. So as I said before, the backend was made with C sharp, and the database is using PostgreSQL. So, let's dive more into it. All right, so it's quite layered all together. Everything here performing different tasks, from the student API to the student portal, data to the student. Okay, these are different tests to the student models, student services, and student models. All right. So So the student API layer, like this basically helps to do, or basically have to do with the presentation of all endpoints of your data and everything that has to do with routing and finding them and how all different routes are also found. Then the data layer, the student data layer, this is like the database this is the data part of the database management of it. It has to do with everything of database management and database setup and migration of different files, and also handle data very well, because database management is really important in this, as obviously as a student portal. Now, in the student portal models, so basically this is where we have different entities, configurations, and other helper models that facilitate the services. You know, okay, like see them, they are different, like they have the configuration, the DTOs, the entities, and other things that facilitate the services to make it move fast and make it move well. So we have DT in the DTOS files, we have request and we have response. So in the request, we use that to pull up web APIs, and we use the request here to pull up web APIs, and we use the response to basically respond to the web APIs as objects, and it returns the web APIs as objects. So in the config also, yes, also note we have a configuration file. So we have a configuration file. So basically, in the configuration file, this is where we have our mapping configurations. Mapping is, so look at this is where we have the mapping files and everything. So we have every mapping file configuration. So basically, this helps us to copy one class to another. So for example, here, so this helps us to copy one class to another. So this is where we do the configuration and setting up of all the different courses used as a library. And also we have a library here which we call automapper. We have an automapper which is used for copying one class for another, which is used for copying one class to another. All right. So basically, when you create a course, it copies the course here and brings the object here. So also in this thing, we have entities. We have entities. All these are under the student portal models. This here is the entities. And in the entities, well, entities, these are actual tables. They represent the tables. So basically everything we created in the Postgres DB or in the Postgres database, in the Postgres database that is running on the Docker container. So the database is running on the Docker container, and so everything running on the Docker. Sorry, what am I saying? All the data, all the data running on the um, on the database container, on the Docker container, all the database are all they are all represented in the entities as tables. So basically, what is a Docker file? So with this Docker compose here, this represents that the Docker file is being created, and what the Docker file is it builds the image and bundles it in a container so that we can all run it, and we can, so we can all use it, and it will become very accessible to them. So basically, it serves as a container for us. So coming back to the database explanation, we have a DB context. Where's the DB context? So these are application contexts. So since there are different DBs in here, in the DB, in the database, you have different, in the database data context. So here, coming back to the DB, we have a different, thing. So here we have the DB context. We have the DB context, right? And here is the application context, and here is also the authentication context. And the reason why it's split into two here is because if one is down, the other could continue. And here the application context has to do with the different things that goes on in the student portal, and the authentication part here has to do with the various logins. It controls the various logins itself. So basically, so like I said, the two parts are created to separate concerns, that is system failures of one of, okay, imagine it like if only one was handling everything. If one fails, both the library, both the portal itself and the authentication of the logins, everything all fails together. So we all want, so basically we will all have like to have a working flow of a good database. All right. So that is it. So like from the question, it says the pros and cons. Like I said earlier, the microservices architecture um, provides good scalability, flexibility, and maintainability. And also, when one part is broken, you don't necessarily have to break the entire database. The other ones could be functioning, other services could be running, forgive me, other services could be running, and other parts could be running successfully and until fixes are done. All right, so explaining more, we have the extensions file. So in this extension file is where it houses our repositories and our utility. So our repo first, our repo is an implementation. Our repo is an implementation of the interface iRepository this here. So basically, this interface helps us code interfaces using links and also facilitates all forms of query. And also here, I'd like to talk about the units of work. The units of work is what aggregates or adds all repositories. So basically, when we want to call a table, it picks up a table and runs the repo at runtime. Now, now all these are injected in our DI resolver. All these are injected here. And here where here in the DI resolver is where we register our services using transient every time. So using transient, and here we have different modes. I think there are different modes. We have transient, I think singleton, and the scoped. So basically, a transient level is basically every time. So a transient level, every time a request is made, you know, it's very important that your DB requests or makes a request, every time that your DB it makes a, I don't know how to explain, but makes a request every time. So it basically clears off the old one and makes a new one. Because if you use singleton keeps stacking, because it's one single data for a lifetime. But transient, it keeps requesting, and that is why we use transient. And basically, and also scoped is storing the state of the object as per a lifetime of request. So each time you request, it just stores it. While transient is requesting that it change, that the object gets changed on a daily, or rather per request. So again, we have the JWT authentication. Basically, the JWT helps in facilitating of tokens. So the JWT, where's my comment? So the JWT basically helps in the facilitation of tokens. As you could remember, um, when we created, what's the one oh yeah, so these tokens, this is what the JWT authenticator does. It helps generate these tokens so that we could use it to access, and get the student, what do you call the student ID and the student ID. So that's what this part does for us. Right. So for the dependency management and dependency injection, each one of these each one of them here have dependencies installed in them. So basically the dependency there helps in structuring the code and also in improving the workflow of the different services. So in here you have for various dependencies, and in here it's called the NuGet packages. The the NuGet packages help in the NuGet packages are the various things you can install to also help in the workflow of your of your of your service also, and they just directly help and directly implement and help themselves injected directly into the code as the packages. You could install them. I think yeah, you could very much install. You could manage your NuGet packages and install and install and install and install and install. So basically, these are all that I've installed so far to help in the development of the program. Oh, 6 minutes of eating. Relax. After. So these are the various packages and the various dependencies used. And these are the various packages. These are the various packages. These are the various packages. And this is for the test. Sorry. So these are the various packages. For the, these are the various packages. Model for the JWT token generator, and this is for the test also. Yeah, so service integration. So the services is are where we store all the business logic that our API is calling. So let me show you how they all talk to each other. As you can see, the student portal API is dependent on the student portal services. And the student, so it's depending on the things that go on here or all the services that go on here, and that is what the student portal is dependent on. And this here right here is dependent on the student portal services is dependent on the student portal data and the student portal models. So they are all dependent on each other to produce services. And the student models is not really dependent on anyone. Selfishly, right? And the data is definitely dependent on the models to produce, because all the different models produce different data that is going to be stored on the DB. So that's the services part. It's getting long. Okay, so for the test, so in the test, let me run this. Okay, so before that, I used XUnit test, and also a library was used, and which is mock. So basically, to mock out a dependency, it means, but first for you to have for you to perform a unit test you have to make it coupled and abstract, and mock helps in creating objects, and mock helps in creating this. So let me run the test and let's see. Okay, so yeah, so the test, as you can see, I've run it before, and the tests, they are all successful for the auth service and the service and student services. And also note that as this test is happening, it has no relation to the DB. So basically, it doesn't go back to the DB. This just tests the functionalities, if all the functionalities are working. Now, this is for unit test. Okay, so for the integration test, and first of all, you have to know that an integration test is semi or if not close to the real world experience. So an integration test, it's very advanced compared to the unit test. And so when creating when performing a unit and integration test, we use what is called a test container. In previous testing and previous integration tests, we do something very tedious. So basically, it's like you create a database and destroy your database, that created database, when you're done with your test. But presently, we have containers, which makes it easier because basically you just spin up a container and that container runs throughout a test and is destroyed automatically once the test is done or has ended. You know, just spin up instead of creating and destroying. So basically, just as you run the test, it spins up one and deletes that one and deletes it once it's done. So basically, leaving no traces or even throwing away like leaving no traces of the server. So basically, sometimes people call it like throwaway servers. But for you to do this, you have to stop the Docker. Like I've stopped the Docker already. I've stopped the student portal Docker already. And because if you don't do that, it clashes with your already existing database and may cause a lot of errors and destroy or spoil a lot of your data. And also you may lose a lot of files also if care is not taken because it does have a lot of conflicts. It brings a lot of conflicts with it. So for 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 this to occur, all right. So for integration testing, we depend on what we call fixtures and factories or fixtures or factories. So it tests flow. Yeah. It is a test flow which depends on this I class fixture. And I class fixture is based on our factories of let's say what of you know, and the fact of factories, and a factory is a provisioned virtual server for runtime testing. So basically, just is a virtual server. So basically, it's a virtual server for runtime testing when you want to test on the run. Also, note that creating uh, when creating when creating your or when performing in a unit test, you need to make your program class partial, public partial. Why? So that it can expand it in simple terms. So basically, as it's partial like this, it needs to have the ability to create and randomly test these things. You need to have the ability to create and randomly open up the very just basically create its own environment for testing. Yeah, so that's it. And also, I'd like to talk more about the test itself. So these are the dummy these things is going to take the various things going to use and test it. Now we have a very very wonderful thing here, this keyword here, and in here I would like to lay emphasis on this name itself. Sorry, this name itself. Giving wrong login the credentials when login is invoked, then of bad request is returned. So this is very, very self-explanatory, of very, very self-explanatory. So it says so this here giving wrong detail is regarded as the request when login is invoked, which is regarded as a resource or action. Then of bad request is returned. Of bad request is the outcome because if you, so you requested that you give it you requested your login credentials and you gave it wrong details. Now the actions of it, you check the resources and say, okay, no, this action here is a wrong detail. Now, what's the outcome? Then of bad request is returned. So basically, it's trying to tell that okay, a bad request have been is giving you back a bad request because you gave it the bad request, so it's giving it back to you. Now, after all this is all said and done, after all this is done, it decentralizes it and becomes dynamic. You know, so it decentralizes the whole thing and becomes dynamic and gives you an error message, invalid username or password. So that is what this test is doing. So likewise other tests. Oh man, this video is long. So the product, as a summary and conclusion, the product is a student portal microservice So basically, which allows students to log in, or rather create credentials, create their names, log in, and perform the activities of students by enrolling in courses and selecting different courses or different things they like to learn, and also having the big access to pay for it and pay for it as invoice, so it doesn't affect the eligibility to graduate. And also in here you can also check if you're eligible to graduate and if you're not eligible to graduate. But hopefully, well, hopefully the services and everything, and as you're done, you're able to pay off everything and you're eligible to graduate. Well, as for my conclusion, I'll have to say the one of the product limitation I did have was error messaging. I think a lot of the, like you, for Swagger Dog, if you give it to a lot of, let's say, non-average tech people, they may not be able to understand some certain things there. So hence a good front end would be very, very nice and helpful. I think I did have a simple front end, but I'm not able to integrate it on time. And I think the project is quite, oh my god. Well, project is, it is what it is. It is a very good one, and thank you so much. Um, I really appreciate everything. So thank you so much. I appreciate it all, and have a very great one and great journey up ahead. Thank you, and I appreciate everything. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Duncan. Thank you, Mrs. Talita, for the wonderful report, and thank you, Mr. Satish. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.